As we move into storm season, here's something most homeowners don't realize after a storm. Roof damage isn't always obvious. Wind can lift shingles, breaking the seal. Hail can bruise them below, and flashing around chimneys and pipes can loosen without you ever knowing. That damage may not show up for months. If your area has strong wind or hail, a professional inspection will help bring you clarity before small damage turns into bigger problems.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Well, hello there, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawhon. Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 6 as we are continuing to help monitor the restoration efforts here across North Mississippi after the ice storm of 2026. We thank you so much for joining us here as we continue to have, again, a lot of information coming into the Room to Room Weather Center this evening. We'll talk to folks there in Calhoun County, Randy Skinner, the emergency manager there, on the update as things continue to come back together. We'll also talk to Brandon Presley, who is on the board there of the Water Valley Electric. He will be talking about restoration efforts there in Yalobusha County and specifically Water Valley here in a few minutes as well. So most of our headlines, again, revolve around the restoration of power, which is a huge story for all of us here in North Mississippi, coming on piece by piece, and things are coming back together, including as we learned a little earlier on this afternoon, the restoration of one of those TVA main transmission lines between Alcorn County and Union County that has then allowed folks to re-energize, add electricity back to the lines for some folks in Union and Tippah counties, and obviously Alcorn County as well. So some improvement there. Latest on Calhoun County and how they figure into all of this, as well as a freezing fog potential for later on tonight. Your first 12 on the forecast. Let's talk about that freezing fog for a moment. We're 30 at around 7 p.m. We're down to 24 by 1 a.m. And so that's cold enough that Mayor Robin Tannehill came on, talked with us live earlier on, and there was a push out from the folks in New Albany encouraging folks to stop dripping the water because it was starting to reduce water pressure. So that you have to weigh a bunch of different threats here. And during the day, the likelihood of pipes busting is a little bit lower than at night. I know this is the point where maybe some folks might need to drip again later on tonight. These temperatures aren't quite as cold, but we're also colder in the inside of houses in a lot of cases than we were before. So again, monitoring a bunch of different things all at the same time. I want to bring in someone who knows everything about what's going on the front lines there in Calhoun County. That is Randy Skinner. Randy is the emergency manager there in Calhoun County. Thank you so much for joining us here on Mississippi Live at 6 p.m. How are things in Calhoun County tonight?
Well, we're a lot better than we were. I'll put it that way. We're starting to see some daylight there, Matt.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It has this daylight is a perfect example, and you might want to turn my audio down just a little bit because I'm getting a little feedback on that. I think daylight might be an excellent example when you think about it, because daylight starts with just a little bit of light and becomes brighter and brighter and brighter, and I think that's kind of this process maybe to a T.
Right. Yeah. You were talking about power and some other things, mainly here in Calhoun County. We are now around 2,000 still without power countywide. That's around 1,000, 1,200 in North Calhoun and roughly about 500 to 800 in South Calhoun from the numbers I can gather. It's been kind of hard to nail down some of the numbers. Everybody's so busy working. And right now, I just want to give a huge shout out to all of the electric power associations and the wonderful job they're doing. I'm telling you, they hit the ground running and they haven't stopped yet. We want to show love where it's due. They deserve all the credit.
They really do, because these are just, there's so many, and I knew that this was a rough job before, but there's just so many angles to how this is treacherous work and dangerous work. But everybody's staying safe there in Calhoun County. No issues, no injuries, no linemen, having any problems.
Not that I've been made aware of. We've had several carbon monoxide incidents already. Had some real close calls. I will say this. So if anybody's listening out there and you're still running generator power, please make sure that it's far enough away from your home that the fumes will not come back inside and don't let that sleep be your last sleep, please.
You know, and another thing, if you can, and I don't know if people understand the topography of where they're at enough, the change in landscape, but you probably want it downhill from you as well, so that at night when the atmosphere stabilizes, that hopefully it carries it away. What's a safe distance?
They recommend 20 feet at least from any opening, doorway, window, or anything like that. They recommend 20 feet. However, depending on the way the wind's been, variable and different speeds, it could change and blow it right back to the house. So the best thing to do is have it as far away. I know there'll be some loss. The longer cords you have and everything else that you run from it, it will have some power loss and everything else and cause it to run harder. But it's better to be safe and run less than take chances and have a bad outcome.
Absolutely, completely agree. Have you guys had any water issues in Calhoun County, and are those resolved at this time?
We've had several water issues. We've had several rural water wells that have been down. To my knowledge, the majority of them are back up. I think we have a break still on Young's water. That'll be down close to the Big Creek area, the very, very low end of Big Creek. Last I heard, they still had a break in the line, but the crews were out working on it. We brought Crossroads, Natchez Trace brought Crossroads back up yesterday evening. We also had the wells at Pittsboro restored yesterday from Pontotoc Electric. So we're making great leaps and bounds toward getting things back to normalcy. But please be patient with us out there, people, because it's in some places it's a total rebuild for the Electric Power Association.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah. Have you finally got to the point that you no longer are having trees falling and increasing the outages?
It's well, in some places out in the rural part where it's been real shady, there's still.
I think I'm losing your audio there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Apologize.
Can you hear me
Oh, no,
now?
you're good. Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay. So with the sunshine coming out today, being a real bright and sunny day, we had a lot of melt on the ice. We're making a lot of headway there. The more rural shaded areas where the roads are shaded and things like that, we still have some slick spots, but for the most part, we're thawing out good.
Good. That's good progress. Good to hear that. Any other thing you want to pass along to residents of Calhoun County? Who, I mean, the roads are better, but is that a fair statement throughout the whole county?
For the most part, our main roads, the main thoroughfares through Calhoun, all of the well-traveled roads, all of those are fine. We have no issues there. It's the ones that are out in the most rural parts that are less traveled and things like that. That's where we're running into problems. That's the reason why we still have schools dismissed for tomorrow, because some of our supervisors would like that extra day to kind of get things taken care of and make sure that we're not sending those kids out in a hazardous environment.
So you feel, at least, I mean, I don't cancel school. You don't cancel school. I get that. But the expectation, or at least the hope, is perhaps by Thursday to have. Is this Tuesday? What day of the week is this? This is Tuesday. Are we both living in that
I've
time
lost
warp? Oh gosh. So the hope is by Thursday to have kids back in school.
That's the plan, if we can. If not, we're going to always keep the kids and the parents and everything. We're going to keep them, their safety first and foremost in our mind. We're never going to put those kids in a dangerous situation. So if we feel there's any way possible we could have some of them get injured, we're going to lean on the cautious side of things. I do want to make one other notice. We still have our shelter locations open. If you're still without power and you need heat, food, or warm place to stay tonight, we still have our shelter locations open here in Calhoun City, at the fire department and at the Nazarene Church across from Regions Bank. And we also still have the gym location at Bruce in the park on Hastings Street. It will be open too if need be. So we do have warm places for you to go if you need to. I went by there earlier this evening and they were empty, so that's always a good sign. We had them pretty full last night, but we're making headway enough. We're starting to see a difference.
Well, we appreciate you so much for talking with us. Randy Skinner, Calhoun County Emergency Manager, join us live here on Mississippi Live this evening. Prayers to y'all, and hopefully restoration continues at a quick pace. All right?
Thank you, Matt.
Hey, let us know if you need anything, and you've got my number. Call me. Even in the middle of tornadoes, I'm serious. If you've got something that could save a life, you hop on in, okay?
I will do, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, so again, as Randy was mentioning a moment ago there, they have had some water issues that are largely getting resolved in Calhoun County. That there's just so many different layers to this. Power then powers pumps, pumps then pump water to the top of water towers and help with pressure. Just so many different things and way everything interconnects related to the system. And so good to hear that things are continuing to progress. I know a lot of folks wish they would have had power back yesterday, and then tomorrow. Many of those same folks will be saying, "Hey, when can our power come back?" And it's still going to be a few more days. Mississippi Live, Mama Justice Doppler radar again, mainly showing again some high thin clouds out there at this point in time, kind of moving in. No meaningful precipitation from any of this. There is a weak storm system, weak little wave that will try to kind of progress in from the south and west that could bring a couple of flakes. Maybe more than a couple flakes a few days from now, but we're not expecting anywhere near what we just had come through. This was a historic ice storm, and anything we have the rest of the year, I would bet almost anything that anything we have the rest of the year will not be able to compare, because this has hit infrastructure and everything else so very, very hard. A place, I talked to this person at the beginning portion of last week about this situation because of aging infrastructure unfortunately, some of the concerns he had and many other places have come to fruition as well. Joining me here is Brandon Presley. Brandon is with the board there on the Water Valley Electric, and I know you guys have had a rough week. But from looking what I've seen on social media, things seem to be getting better.
They're getting considerably better. I mean, look, until we get the last house on, Matt, we're not going to be happy, but we have brought in, right now, we've got 55 linemen and right-of-way crew that are on the ground. They're working every neighborhood in Water Valley. We've got a lot of damage, broken poles, transformers down, lines broken, you name it. You've heard this story all over. One of the things that we've been able to do here pretty quickly is get most of our gas stations are up now. Hospitals never lost power. We've been able to keep all those emergency services. Well, I shouldn't say keep them up. We've been able to get them quickly restored. I just came by our fifth gas station that got on now. So, we're making marked progress hour by hour to get service back on. And that's thanks. Look, I'm just a guy that gets to chair the electric commission here as a volunteer citizen. The folks doing the work are these linemen that have left their families, not only our home team, which are champions. Our four guys that we have in the city, they've done great. But we brought in folks from Louisville, from Philadelphia, Russellville, Alabama showed up today. We've had contract crews from MDR and Graves Power Supply, right-of-way crews cutting, suppliers that have rolled in truckloads of transformers, wire, and poles. It really looks like an army camp in the middle of battle. As we're rolling this stuff out, but it's been a very good marked effort, and we've made a lot of good progress. We cut a good bit of the town back on just about 30 minutes ago, and we'll make more progress tomorrow. But we're not going to be happy till everything's turned on, but we haven't had any setbacks yet.
Well, that's good to hear. Places you, I think, ahead of a lot of other places, and it's good to hear that you are getting the reinforcements that you need. I'm showing some pictures you guys have been posting on social media. I imagine just getting some of the equipment, the utility supplies, even into where you're at has been a challenge the last few days.
It has, but now, you and I know each other from my past life in public office, and I was public service commissioner. This is a bad one, but we've seen these type of these disasters before. And one of the things we did early here was we started securing down suppliers and getting routes ready and getting folks engaged. When you were telling us on Wednesday this could be catastrophic, we believe it when it comes from your mouth is to God's ears. And so we immediately went and started calling in suppliers and calling in crews and having everybody on standby. That's made a big difference for us. Luckily, the Department of Transportation has been excellent to work with. I talked with State Executive Director Brad White today as over MDOT. They've been able to get Highway 7 clear from I-55 into Water Valley. Look, Valley is in our name, so we got two big hills that separate this town. You've been here, Matt, and so it's a little bit of challenging terrain, but and we're off the beaten path. But all in all, we got a solid response. And again, I'm just the guy that chairs the citizen board. I'm not out there working on these lines. This credit goes to the folks out there in the field.
Yeah, it really does. They've just, round the clock, and we just appreciate them so much. We were talking to somebody earlier today about how they really are in a lot of ways first responders that don't get recognized because, when the rain is still falling and the lightning is still clapping, they're out there trying to get the power back on. And obviously in this case, it's days and days on end.
Let me tell you, 3:30 in the morning, Sunday morning, our field superintendent, Brandon Richardson's driving the truck, hanging out one window, and I'm hanging out the other with a flashlight, both of us trying to see what lines are down at 3:30 in the morning. These folks are first responders, and they deserve to be treated with that dignity. And our town has just outpoured love. Our cup runneth over with donations and things, and we're taking good care of them just like their own family.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I think I said earlier, buy them a cup of coffee, buy them dinner when this is all over with. It's that we owe them. All of us owe them.
Absolutely. People do not, I spent 16 years as public service commissioner, and I've always said people don't think about utility service till they don't have it. They don't want to hear about it till they don't have it. These services are essential. They're essential for life and the economy and your community. And you got to get them back up. And my hat's off to these folks that are doing it.
Do you guys, and I know this is outside of your purview in this case, but do you guys have warming shelters in town for folks that maybe still don't have power?
We do. We're actually, the city opened up the Civic, which is a newly renovated auditorium. We had a generator down there before they got service restored. And so we've got a warming shelter at the Civic, which I think is 901 North Main Street, but it's right by First Baptist Church. I may be off on that number, but it's a big building. You'll see it right by the First Baptist Church. People can come charge their devices, warm up, and we're staffing that 24 hours a day. We've got, a huge volunteer effort that's turned out to try to help.
Well, I know that you guys are appreciative of all the volunteers, and this is going to be a slow cleanup process. Anything else you want to add?
Yep. Yeah, we're asking our customers to text us pictures of damage to the electric system. We've had 500 pictures come in the last 30 minutes. That's going to help us document for the federal response and the state response. We're taking this very seriously as to how we're going to go about, documentation. So our 833 number that we've been blasting on Facebook, take some photos and text them to us. That'll put your address stamp on there. And when we get ready to document what all we've gone through, that'll help us. We can take those by text now, thanks to modern technology.
Okay, I'm putting the number on there. Text photos to, what was it one more time?
Oh, yes, 833-262-3985. 833-262-3985, and that is our emergency response line for the electric department. But it's a two-way, so you text us and we can text you back, and you can send us photos. There you go. So damage to the system there in Water Valley. Text those photos to 833-262-3985. It's amazing how that helps you guys. People at home, I'm sure, are very willing to show you where things are damaged in hopes. Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah, take that frustration and get that phone to clicking. So, yeah, we need to pick it.
And again, I think that's one of the benefits of both the state and federal disaster declaration is so that you guys will be able to get, some of the funding, hopefully some reimbursements for trying to put some of this back together.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got folks that we don't let a truck leave our yard till we inventory it. We're keeping up with it, but we want to show, look, we've all been through a lot in the last 3 days. Memories aren't good. So we're doing the citizens can help us by taking photos.
That's awesome. Appreciate that. Brandon Presley, on the board there at Water Valley as part of the electric cooperative there in Water Valley Electric Department. Thank you so much for joining us here on Mississippi Live Weather this evening. Stay warm, stay safe. If there's anything we can do to get the information out, let us know. And again, text those photos of damage in Water Valley to 833-262-3985. We'll have more on your forecast coming up after this. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, look, we're a testament to folks adhering to what y'all were putting out. We would not be in the shape we're in today if we dismissed your advice. So thank you for giving us the heads up and the warning. You helped get our town back up, Matt. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that very much. It, just doing our job, right?
You're doing a darn good one. Thank you, man.
Well, thank you so much, Brandon Presley. We'll be right back after this. Oh, no, one more thing. Right back after this.
Out with the old and in with the new. It's time to save big at Room to Room's New Year's sale. Store-wide markdowns 50 to 70% off. No tax. 48-month special financing. It's a new year at Room to Room Furniture in Tupelo. There's no place like home.
I have been going to Tupelo Smiles my whole life. When I was a kid, I was unhappy about some uneven coloring on my teeth after getting my braces off, which at the time there really wasn't a fix. I was recently made aware of a solution that would totally fix it, which is exactly what we did. They not only heard my concerns, but they never stopped looking to solve my problem, and that's why I love Tupelo Smiles.
As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
This portion of Mississippi Live Weather is presented by Little's Jewelers.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lovhaug.
You're looking at drone video from near the Iuka area sent in by our partners over at Tennessee Valley Weather. Samuel Camp, who you heard on Mississippi Live at 5, was up there in the area, up in northern Tishomingo County earlier today. And just look at these trees, pine trees primarily, all bent over because of the significant ice. I know many of us have this in our own yards in some cases as well. I can walk out there about 20 feet. And we had trees that looked like this, but just the sheer quantity, the damage to timber in this state, which is, again, a major impact. We haven't even gotten to the monetary impacts of this, which are going to probably be, easily in the triple digits, probably in the millions for this. This has just been a disaster of very significant proportions on a smaller, but again, very significant level. We did have reports earlier this afternoon of a collapse of a canopy at a gas station. This in Washington County in Greenville, and reports also of injuries there, up to 10 injuries as that canopy was knocked down by ice and snow that got heavy from the melting. And honestly, just the canopy couldn't take it anymore because of the weight. We do not know the condition of those injured, but most certainly our prayers are with folks there. And you can just still see that was an afternoon time period. And looking on the ground there, still very slushy. It's one of the many impacts that we're watching tonight, including roadways that remain very, very treacherous at most, especially in the northwest part of the state. At this hour, you're looking at the Mississippi Department of Transportation camera there near the Memphis area. Could that truck go much more slowly and be moving forward? That one decided it wasn't even worth it. When we looked at this, I cannot show you a camera of it, but we do know that at last check, and Gabe will pop in here and let me know if this is still incorrect. At last check, there were reports again out of Panola County. I'll see if I can pull the alerts off of the top part here where it shows, I think we just got the color there on top. There we go. But reports along I-55 in Panola County, north of the Batesville area, the northbound lanes, as you can see, as dark red as that goes. At one point earlier today, it was essentially a parking lot along I-55 there in Panola County, up toward around Tate County as well. So travel while possible in and around the Tupelo area, the eastern part of the state, extremely treacherous still in northwest Mississippi as well. And unfortunately, the trouble that will probably continue. Another thing coming in tonight, again, power restored with the TVA main trunk line there, back from locations in Alcorn County back into Union County. We think that also brings things back in Tippah County. It's not going to be like flipping a switch and everybody comes, but at least when they get to the end location, it's possible to energize that line. But we're unfortunately still not there, and that's a factor in many other locations as well. In fact, if we bring in our meteorologist Gabe Maynor here, behind him, you can see an example of one of those places where there's still an issue, and that would be our camera there in Winona. That is not a fresh image coming there. That's a locked up, frozen image, not just in temperature, but also, in image, because there's just so many places still without power at this point.
There we go.
Gabe,
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, my apologies. I was working on some stuff behind the scenes, so I didn't want to talk over it. But when you're talking about that main line getting restored, then it's up to the local power cooperatives to get that up and going. And so that process can begin. And we're glad that that main line is restored, because now we can see some of those numbers in Tippah County, Alcorn County start to plummet as we get into the next couple of days. And that number dropping is definitely what we want. The number we don't want dropping is the temperature. And unfortunately, for a lot of locations, that's exactly what's happening heading into these overnight hours. So for folks, not really in Winona, but out here in Greenville, look at how much ice is still on those roadways. Just, you can see the water right there. And this is, again, right by the Greenville airport where crews are out and about tonight. You can see all those linemen lined up right there in Greenville, ready to, of course, go about their plans this evening, wrapping up, but then heading into Wednesday to further get their resources out and help out the community. We're grateful for them, but I do hope that those roads stay in good enough condition as we get into those overnight hours, but we do expect a refreeze to happen. Big thank you to the folks at Mitchell Cunningham and Bowling for giving us this look out of Tupelo. 30 degrees right now. Dew point still pretty up there. 27 degrees and the actual temperature is 30 means that it's still a saturated atmosphere, and that's where the potential for freezing fog moves into the forecast. So freezing fog making travel hazardous for a lot of locations, and adding another thing to what is already a big story here in Mississippi, as has been the case over the past couple of days. Power outages continue to be in place for, I don't even know how many counties this is at this point in North Mississippi, but everywhere west of 55, north of Highway 6, still impacted as of the 6:30 hour on our Tuesday. Fortunately, today, for those power outages, crews were able to get out and about because of the dry air, the dry skies that we had all throughout the day. Actually let in some of the sunshine, and that worked to melt some of that ice as well. But now as temperatures are starting to refreeze, that's where the potential for that below freezing, the refreeze to happen on some of that water that has melted from earlier on today. So travel still not advised in some of those areas that have been a parking lot already, probably continuing to be so into those overnight hours once again. 28 degrees by 8, 26 by 10, 25 expected by midnight. And that's where we're getting some of that patchy fog to move in place. And one of the things we'll talk about later on in the broadcast is how this fog pairs with the cold temperatures and makes for a hazardous commute, a term we call freezing fog. And we'll go over that in a little bit more detail in just a moment. Your Tuesday night staying on the dry side despite that moisture being in the forecast. And a big driver in what's happening is actually this cold front that's right overhead in the North Mississippi area. This, of course, going to dry things over the next couple of days as it keeps moisture in the forecast, whether that's in the form of fog or in the form of cloud cover. That's where we'll stand in North Mississippi. Luckily, a lot of those showers still down south, so not going to be posing a threat for us, and for those areas that are still dealing with what happened over the weekend, I know that's a welcome sight because we don't want to deal with any more moisture in North Mississippi. Our Wednesday morning, bringing it back in here to North Mississippi, you can see low temperatures get into the upper teens. Boonville, Corinth, Senatobia, and Tunica. The rest of us, 21 Clarksdale, Grenada, 25 Louisville and Belzona. So it's going to be a cold one for sure, but wind non-existent in this forecast, and that's what's allowing for some of those foggy conditions to move in place. School bus forecast, drive with those low beams on, especially those bus drivers out there. Pickup's going to be at 21 degrees though, so students, make sure to layer up. Still going to be a cold morning, a little bit warmer than what we had this morning, but 21 degrees is definitely enough to have a couple of layers. By drop-off, 43 degrees. Afternoon temperature trending the right direction, and that is up, meaning warmer air for more melting on your Wednesday. Wednesday morning, you can see some of that cloud cover still overhead, but watch as this cloud cover gets into the afternoon. what this looks like is, of course, cloud cover, but what it also is some of that patchy fog there at the surface. We'll start to get some breaks in that fog by the lunchtime hours, and then we'll get those clearer skies by the afternoon. So fortunately, the fog is not sticking around forever, but will pose a threat for some of those early morning commuters, even those that are still in better shape and heading to school on Wednesday. But I know for a lot of us, we're just basically trying to stay warm as we get into our Wednesday morning, and hopefully we'll continue to restore those power efforts. And again, a big thank you to our power cooperatives for all they've done so far. 3 p.m. on Wednesday, still those mostly clear skies, and into the evening and overnight hours, expecting those to remain in place. High temperatures on your Wednesday. We're topping out in the mid-30s, South Haven and Tunica, 37 Corinth, 39 Boonville, 44 Amory, 48 Columbus, Macon, and Aliceville. So trending in the right direction. Like I said, Wednesday afternoon, a little bit warmer than Tuesday afternoon, and this afternoon was a little bit warmer than yesterday afternoon. As we keep our forecast moving into our Wednesday night, you can see those clear skies overhead. Cloud cover does try to build there along the Mississippi River overnight. This could have some patchy fog as well, and with temperatures going to be below freezing Thursday morning, that will result in some freezing fog potential once again as we head out the door for that Thursday morning commute. Looking at those low temperatures, we're going to be in the teens once again for Tunica, Senatobia, South Haven, and Water Valley, 22 around Grenada, Eupora, and 23 there towards Starkville. So a cold morning once again, very similar to what we'll have for our Wednesday morning. So it's not the teens, or sorry, it's not the low teens, it's not the single digits. So hey, we'll take our blessings and be optimistic where we can. As we keep that futurecast moving throughout our Thursday, we'll see that cloud cover kind of try to stick around in the forecast. Still primarily going to be some of that patchy fog. That'll start to recede up there towards Tennessee and Arkansas. And as we get more into that afternoon forecast, clearing will take place, making for a beautiful forecast as we get into that Thursday afternoon time frame. Now, we will have a system that's building out here towards the west that's going to move in some of that moisture. And we talked about this at 5 o'clock. You know, not impossible to get a flurry or two out of this system, but we are not expecting this widespread of coverage like we're getting on our strike model. This is way more ambitious than we want to showcase, but nonetheless, it is a possibility to at least get some winter precip, light flurries. That's it. I'm not seeing any impacts come out of this. And Matt, you talked about do what?
And again, I agree with that, but I also want to be cautious because I think we have a more vulnerable population than usual. That it's possible we could get some flakes out of this and maybe have some light travel delays. But what I think the main thing Gabe's trying to say here is that this is nowhere near what we just experienced. And again, I'm largely overdone on the strike model here versus other projections. But again, since people are so vulnerable, they're so tense. This is not a round two of what we just had. This is. It's more than the flakes we've seen the last couple of days and less than a typical winter system. But we're going to be watching it still, have a couple more days before it comes on in.
And this is going to really be determined by the positioning of a low that's going to develop right there in Arkansas. And once that low develops, it'll have a cold front attached to it, that driving into our area. And depending on the positioning, will depend on the impacts. And models are not aligned so far on the positioning. And that's where there's still some questions in the forecast.
Well, the number one impact with this, though, and I don't want to miss this, and I know you don't either, is just how cold it gets behind this, right?
Big time. I mean, we're talking temperatures similar to what we had this morning. And this morning was pretty unbearable if you got outside during those early morning hours. But yes, behind this system, that's where that extreme cold does move into play. So enjoy these high temperatures while you have them, because moving into Friday, we'll start to flip the switch and see much colder conditions in place. I mean, we're talking low 50s, Italian County, right around Kosciuszko. How long has it been since we've seen the low 50s? Quite a bit of time. Even mid to upper 40s has been quite a bit of time. So the fact that we're tracking that into our Thursday forecast, I'm definitely excited about it and definitely looking to make some plans on Thursday heading into those afternoon hours. Because look at the shift. Friday, we're talking high temperatures in the mid 30s, but then let's get into low temperatures. Mid 20s Friday morning, transitioning into the low teens Saturday and Sunday morning. Now, these have trended a degree or two up. We hope that continues that trend, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if maybe single digits up along the Tennessee state line was a possibility by the weekend. Again, a very similar temperature pattern to what we had this morning in North Mississippi. Reason why those temperatures are dropping is because of that cold front, but also because of the clear skies that'll be in place, allowing for any of that heating to escape and leave us with that cold air underneath. But that's not the concern right now. Of course, it will be cold, but the concern heading into our Wednesday and our Thursday is patchy fog, because The temperatures will be at freezing, a term we call freezing fog. We're talking the latest details coming up on Mississippi Live Weather at 6 in the next 60.
Game day brings its ups and downs. Celebration and disappointment. Anxiety and relief. Friends and enemies. You can always argue over who should have won, but everyone can agree on great food. Appetizers, entrees, drinks, party platters, or even the taste of sweet victory. There's something for every season at Eat With Us restaurants.
So I'm here, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon behind the scenes, kind of looking through some of your pictures that have been sent in over the last couple of days. This is one of my, those shouldn't be heading that direction, right? It's like you would expect that, say, along the coast when wind was blowing in, something along those lines. But instead, of course, that means that the tree has fallen. What was originally icicles going down are now going sideways, or I guess sideways that direction. So many pictures that you guys have sent in from across the region, of course, the last few days. I'm trying to put together an album we'll put on Facebook of frozen pretty much everything. And a reminder, do not walk on frozen lakes. That can be extremely dangerous. But again, it's beautiful. It's devastating. Unfortunately, it's been deadly with fatalities now again confirmed in Tishmingo, Alcorn, LaFleur, and Hinds County so far. We've heard rumors from other spots. We're hoping those rumors are not true, but certainly we'll give you updates as more information becomes available. But Gabe, one of the interesting things about tonight is, as you mentioned, that potential for some freezing fog. Freezing fog, something that actually starts off, again, as liquid water and then hits the surface. And yeah, I mean, it's not common per se. It's not uncommon. I feel like we have a chance once or twice a year. In many cases, it doesn't really yield much, but it does have that potential sometimes.
Yeah, it requires temperatures to be below freezing, but fog, like you mentioned, is just moisture at the surface. That's basically a ground cloud, if you want a summary of it. And so whenever we have that and the moisture at the surface, freezing temperatures, whatever surfaces they land on, that's when we'll see that freezing and potentially a glaze on roads or yards or anything of that matter. And so that's where it becomes a hazardous commute. But before we get there, I saw someone in the chat, and I forget the name off the top of my head, but they were asking, is there a second wave heading into this weekend? And I'm going to try to find it. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Oh, I don't know if I'll be able to find it. I wanted to find it real quick, but either way, if it was you in the chat, I'll go ahead and address it because I did see it earlier on. So second wave. The second wave that we were watching, not necessarily concerned about, but watching, was down there in the Gulf. And basically that is our typical winter weather setup, is whenever we have a low in the Gulf that spreads across the Gulf and, of course, wraps around some of that moisture in that counterclockwise fashion, interacting with some of the cold air that might be overhead, and that's where we could get some of that winter precipitation. Well, if you watch this out, none of that ever verifies. So everything you've seen on social media, that was all posted a week out because it hasn't been trending this way for several days now. So everyone, whether it's out of a scare tactic or fear-mongering or anything of that matter, it's not truth. And so that's what we want to give you real quick on Mississippi Live Weather is the truth. And what you see Thursday, heading into Friday, again, the positioning has changed. Strike model, our American model with the GFS, shifting the positioning of that low pressure center. And whenever we get that, you can see how that potential for maybe a few flakes move into the area, a few light raindrops move into the area. That's going to be heading into our Thursday night and our Friday morning. And so we're tracking that, but not necessarily concerned by it because it is nowhere near this past weekend. If it does fall, at most, maybe a very light dusting. And that's if this does line up in the right setup. And with the question on the positioning still in place, not a system we're concerned about whatsoever. But what you do get is this moisture down in the Gulf, and that's going to be attached to this frontal system that pushes well into the East Coast. And watch how this really builds into the East Coast. I mean, you're looking at folks in the Carolinas dealing with a significant amount of snowfall. And that's going to be their winter weather forecast. Not here in North Mississippi, not expecting anything. Like I said, at most maybe a dusting, but that's going to be for those locations that are on the extremely cold side, and also for those locations that are even seeing the moisture in the area. So no, there's not a second wave that's going to be happening. There's just going to be a few flakes moving into the forecast. But I know that folks are still recovering, and I know that folks are seeing those posts, and I do not want you to be alarmed that we're not getting what happened this weekend heading into this next weekend. We're going to be on the calmer side for sure. Let's bring it back in here because there is still a hazard that we need to talk about, and that's going to be this fog that we're expecting to move into the area. So whenever we talk about setup, well, it first starts with that breeze moving over cooler ground, and so that's what we're going to be getting with a term that we call, that advection fog. You get that warm, moist air mass moving overhead over the cooler surface we have right here in North Mississippi right now. We also get that cooling because the warm air mass gets cooled by the ground below. The air cools and becomes saturated with moisture. Of course, that says it right there, but it gets you a visual right there with that cooler air mass moving in, and of course the cool temperatures at the ground cooling off the sky, lining up those temperatures, and you have the dew point and the temperatures being equal, and fog therefore forming. So as we take a look at this, you get the fog, and of course that saturation of air leads to the fog formation. The thing that this graphic doesn't show is that when temperatures at the surface are at freezing, especially well into that freezing mark like we are in North Mississippi, that's where you get that potential for freezing fog. And so, whenever you have these foggy conditions, if you're driving through fog, you get those water droplets on your windshield. That's usually on an above 32 degree day. Whenever we have fog and it's below 32 degrees, those droplets that form on your windshield could potentially cool off quickly and potentially become ice. And same thing on the roads as well. If there's enough moisture with this fog, then we could be talking about some of those slick surfaces on those roadways. And so as we showed you yesterday, black ice is possible, black ice being the ice that forms on those pavements and on those roadways, and fog is a way of getting black ice. And so whenever we talk about foggy conditions and below freezing temperatures, it's water droplets freezing instantly on surfaces below 32 degrees. The roads tomorrow morning going to be below 32, and so will some of those elevated surfaces, your vehicles, whenever you first start them in the day, and things like that. So it's not an impossibility to maybe get a light glaze developing on some of those surfaces, and that can be a hazard enough to where wrecks could happen and things like that. And so we want everyone to stay safe getting into that commute tomorrow because that is a realistic possibility. Whenever we're looking at that dense fog distribution across the United States, you can see that there is some elevated concern here in North Mississippi, but especially further south you go, showing that moist air mass is overhead, allowing for that saturated forecast to be in place. And so, unfortunately, it's one hazard to another, right? Always in North Mississippi, but at least we're not expecting any more freezing rain. And that's one positive with this forecast. It's just going to be one of those things heading into our Wednesday morning that we need to definitely keep track of, have those low beams ready, maybe warm up the car a few minutes early so that way it can kind of knock off potentially some of that thin glaze. But yes, we're watching this, Matt. Like you mentioned, it's not exactly a rarity, but it's not exactly a common occurrence. It's something that's possible with the right ingredients, and that's what we have heading in place tomorrow, potentially heading into Thursday as well if that moisture tries to linger in the forecast. But if we stay prepared, we're able to overcome it. We're just resilient like Mississippians should be.
Absolutely, and have been very, very forthcoming with all of your pictures and things that you've kind of sent in as well. I do want to show a few of those before we kind of wrap up here this evening. Just a lot of pictures that you guys have shared with us on social media. This is just, I say social media. I haven't really checked social media, if we're honest. These are all with the Mississippi Live Weather app. So if you would like to download that app, I'd certainly encourage you to download that app. Here are some QR codes so that you can do that, the ones for iOS and Android. And many, many of you have, making Mississippi Live the most liked and the most downloaded local weather app in the entire country during this most recent winter weather event. No local weather app had more downloads than Mississippi Live Weather did during the height of the event. And so we thank you so much for your amazing support. If you haven't picked up the app yet, I highly encourage you to. You can send in pictures. It has alerts. It lets you know when we go live. And we've done that quite a few times today. For some of you, that might be a nuisance. For others, it might be your only source of information. So we're trying our best to kind of help you out. But again, a lot of ice in all of these pictures. So something, when we have severe weather, it's usually very sporadic reports. When we have ice and snow, a large portion of people get it. And unfortunately, in the negative way this time. And look at that tree just right there on the line still. There's so many places in North Mississippi that are exactly like some of these pictures. and just sad to see the damage to all the trees here. So thank you so much again for all of you for sending in your pictures. Thank you to our sponsors, as you can see on the bottom of the screen here, that have been with us in Mississippi Live Weather. Tell that dog to get out from under there. Not that my dog would listen either. Don't let the kids walk under those trees. The ice falling off more later today, so maybe not as much of an issue. But yeah, I mean, just so many places, trees on power lines. Every one of these has to safely be taken down. A tree like that can be difficult to take down on a normal day. Now you got to get it off of ice. You got to get off the lines, and it's just got there's so many ways in which things go wrong, and it takes a while, unfortunately. So again, appreciate all of our sponsors that you can see there. Support those people that support us on Mississippi Live Weather. It's the way in which we can keep doing this, and without that kind of support from them, there's no real other way to do that. I'd love to say we can, we give it away for free. That's what we absolutely do. But ultimately, it takes sponsors. And so whether it's Tupelo Smiles or any of the other sponsors that we have here, please just go by there and check them out. We will see you again tonight at 10 o'clock. That's when our next broadcast is, as we continue to keep you up to date on power restorations across North Mississippi, and another cool night on the way. Not as cold as the last couple nights. Gabe will be looking at the latest on that freezing fog potential and whether or not it looks like it fully will materialize. Again, that's one of those things that we have confidence should happen, but as we get closer, if there's maybe a cloud layer loft that's more thick, sometimes that can limit it. Gabe will have updates as to how that play out here in the Room to Room Weather Center on Mississippi Live at 10. But for Gabe Maynard, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. We'll see you later.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.